So first of all, this is big news. This is why I bought more MicroStrategy yesterday. Jim Cramer says you should stay away from MicroStrategy. And I don't need to say much more than that. That was the sole reason why I bought MicroStrategy yesterday. So, but the one thing I would say to that is that, and I saw a chart yesterday showing the global liquidity, which basically dried up. I think it was at the end of 2024, and it's back on the rise. Liquidity usually means that Bitcoin's going to start running. So liquidity's up. There's usually a delay between it going up and Bitcoin coming behind it. Plus, we're going through the part of the cycle. So I'm very, very bullish for these next couple months here. This whole year, from this point on, I think is just going to be life-changing for a lot of people. And these are the times right now when you need to be taking advantage of it. There's a lot of people out there who are scared. That's what this kind of stuff is meant to do. It's meant to drive people out right now. But these are the times you need to be buying. And you know, when you think about it, I was talking to my little brother yesterday, and he's not a Bitcoiner. He kind of understands it a little bit. He has some Bitcoin, but he just kind of has it because I told him to buy it. And I was talking to him yesterday, and I said I bought more MicroStrategy, I bought more Bitcoin, and I'm either going to be living well or I'm going to be living on the street. And he was pretty concerned. He's like, well, what happens if Bitcoin goes to zero? And I was like, well, you know, realistically, I'm young. I would just start over again. He's like, what does that mean, start over again? I'm like, well, I'd go get a job. And he's like, well, how would you pay your bills? And I'm like, I'd have a job. Like people spend so much of their life worrying what if something goes wrong, instead of like, what if this works out better than we could imagine? Which is kind of where I'm going with this. This is either going to be the biggest thing that's ever happened, or it's going to go to zero. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with going to zero. I'm 100% fine with that. But nobody, I titled the show today, do things that others don't, because you have to. If you want to be different than everybody else, if you want to be more successful, if you want to be more wealthy than everybody else, you have to do things differently than the average person. And yes, it's easy to have a small allocation into Bitcoin and still have a lot in the legacy system and just kind of, you know, you're never going to be poor, but you're never going to be rich. You're just going to be average. So the times like today and this week when everybody's panicking and scared, that's when you need to be taking advantage of this stuff and really, really going all in on it. If you have that conviction and you have the belief in Bitcoin, then this is the time right now. We're never going to see, in my opinion, we're never going to be able to buy Bitcoin at this price. And just the simple fact that we can still, that the majority of people out there are still uneducated enough to accept dollars for Bitcoin, that just kind of shows where we are right now. So just take advantage of it, whether it's $80,000, whether it's 100,000, whether it's 200,000. Understand where we are right now, understand where this thing is going to, and do everything that you possibly can to grab every one of those scarce, absolute scarce sats while you can. Because these days aren't going to be around forever. We're going to look back in 5 or 10 years from now and give anything to be here in terms of like where we're at in our life. You know, we're going to be 10 years older at that time, but we're also going to look back and wish we would have done more right now, instead of, you know, watching videos and being worried and checking out posts and being worried. And we'll kind of leave it with this. And Crypto Princess, I'm sorry, I'm a couple minutes over here, but you're in the chat here, so I think we're okay. But this is the quote that I wanted to leave it with today, and a post, our nostr news from today. It's important, and this is exactly what I told my little brother yesterday. I said, I don't want to wake up when I'm 80 years old. I legitimately said this before I saw this post yesterday. This is why I wanted to share it. But I said, I don't want to wake up when I'm 80 years old and wish that I would have done more, or wish I would have done something different when I was this age. Nobody ever regrets the stuff that they did when they're 80 years old. They regret the stuff that they didn't do. And So this quote here, it kind of worked out, perfectly. This is American Hoddle again. We talked about him yesterday, but he said, when my grandfather was dying, he pulled me aside and said, right now there are a couple guys on a beach somewhere with pretty girls on their laps. And the only difference between us and them is they have balls. I never forgot that lesson. Be brave. You'll be on your deathbed soon enough. It's truth.